If you're considering doing the Camino and trying to decide which one to do in relation to the shortest way to do it, we've got two choices that you should consider. One is going from Sarria to Santiago on the Frances, or the other is going from just outside of Porto to Santiago on the Portuguese Coastal. We're going to tell you a little bit about both and help you make the decision on which one you should pick to do your Camino. Who are we, honey?
Yeah, so we are Eat, Walk, Learn. I am Steve. This is Chris. We have been traveling the world for 3.5 years now, for a long time. This particular video, we're going to compare two ways that you can do the Camino, and not the entire route, but just what is necessarily the minimum that you need to do in order to achieve your Compostela.
Right. We're talking 100 kilometers. So if you had to pick 100 kilometers on any of the Caminos, we have two Caminos that you should look at to do your Camino. And if you were to walk straight, you could probably do it in 7 days. Or even maybe less. Yeah. It depends on how fast you walk. But if you're somebody that is a very typical pilgrim who only has maybe 7 to 10 days that they have to come to Spain or Portugal or France or whatever to walk the Camino, 100 kilometers is probably the distance that you'll be able to do, and that's the minimum you need to do to officially get all your stamps and get your Compostela from Santiago.
Yeah.
And so we've done both. In April of 22, we walked from Vianna de Costello, which is just north of Porto, into Santiago along the Portuguese Coastal. And then in September of 24, so we just finished, we did from Sarria to Santiago, which is another about 100 kilometer distance as well. A lot of people start in Sarria. A lot of people start just outside of Porto. And a lot of people ask, which one should you do in order to really enjoy yourself? They're very different.
Yeah, well, they're similar in that you're going to be doing a lot of walking over a long distance period of time. You're going to need places to stay every night, and those kinds of accommodations are available for you, so you don't have to sleep in a tent or sleep by the side of the road or under a bridge or something. So there's a lot of similarities to them in the way that they're handled, the way that they operate.
The first biggest difference between the two is what you're looking at, the views, right? So the Portuguese Coastal, I would say for 2/3 of it, you're literally walking right along the coast. I mean, you see the coast on your left side, on your west side, for probably 60 to 70 miles or 30 to 40, maybe 40 kilometers of the way. 70 to 80 kilometers of the Portuguese Coastal. You have the coast right on your left, looking at the water the entire time. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really one of the most breathtaking views that I can remember, and especially when you're just strolling along the path, and you've got this amazing beach on your left and crashing waves and beautiful views. And but it changes too, because you're also going through different cities and different communities. So you're walking across bridges. At one point, when you go from Portugal into Spain, you can actually take the little water ferry where you go across the river, which is a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But it is really a stunning, beautiful experience walking along the coast. But then you do merge with the central route, and so you do go inland, and you're in the hills and in the mountains or in the woods, and that's beautiful as well. So the trails, you go through some old Roman roads, and you go in and out of some little towns.
And some of the art along the Portuguese Coastal is really fun and interesting and engaging and interactive, and I really enjoyed some of the artwork. Remember those trees when we crossed over into Spain had the spiral things? That was really fun. Now, on the other hand, what you see on the Frances coming in from Sarria is very different. If you like agriculture and animals and fields and sunflowers and rolling hills, and then you get into some mountains, it's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, it's somewhat similar in that you do have areas also of the woods and hills and, walking through trails and walking through little communities.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of similarities between
and
the
rivers,
two.
lots of rivers that you cross.
On that regard.
Not as much artwork, though. There was some artwork and probably more churches and little religious places that you can duck into, but not a lot of artwork necessarily.
Yeah, it seemed like on the Portuguese way, there just was much more street art, and just it seemed to be it felt like a little brighter, more decorative, decorative route. So that's kind of the scenery point. And they're different. There's a lot of similarities, but they're also having the ocean and walking on the Portuguese way and having that ocean to look at is really breathtaking and really. Really pretty.
So then the next thing probably to think about is the communities that you're walking through. So on the Portuguese coastal, because it's along the coast, a lot of those communities are tourist destinations for the Spanish and Portuguese citizens and residents. They actually go to the coast to vacation. So the places that you're staying in, the hotels might be a little bit more upgraded. There may be fewer hostels and albergues. Those do exist. You can still find them. But everything seems to be just elevated just a little bit because of that tourism draw. Whereas on the Frances, a lot of the towns you're going through are very rural, and they might only really exist anymore because the Camino goes through them. They have agriculture and then maybe just a few resources to take care of the pilgrims for the night. So very different locations that you will stop in for your nightly rest.
Yeah, so I think if you're looking for that traditional Camino experience where you're staying in the albergues and you're staying kind of in a dormitory situation and you're only paying maybe 8 to 15 euro a night for a room, for a place to sleep, that's going to be the traditional Frances route from Sarria, I think. Mm-hmm. And also, but there are hotels and there are private rooms, so there is that experience. You might have to just look for that a little bit harder to get that. Yeah. But I'd say if you, like Chris was saying, if you want to it feels like a little bit more rustic, a little bit more adventurous and authentic to be doing that traditional Frances route.
Yeah. And then I think maybe the last biggest way to make distinctions is on the social atmosphere, right? So it feels to me that on the Portuguese coastal, it's individuals and couples and people who meet each other along the way, making their way up the coastal. It seems like the coastal has a little bit more lightheartedness to it versus the Frances, it's more family oriented. There's a lot of families walking together, school groups. I think we met several Italian high school groups and Spanish high school groups that they're doing some sort of pilgrimage together as part of their curriculum. They were walking together in groups, lots of different groups and tours moving down the Frances.
Yeah, it's just simple. If you talk about the Camino and you talk about the way, it is that Frances route. So from Sarria into Santiago de Compostela is the most popular route. So if you're going to be, arranging a group, or you're going to be doing it, you're doing it with a lot of research, that is the main route, and it is the most people. And I have to say that we just finished this particular route, and there were so many people. In some cases, it felt like we were in like a parade of people, that were all marching together towards Santiago. So from a social aspect, lots of people to talk to. You look left, you look right. Ahead of you, there's 15 people ahead of you, right. 20 people behind you. So there's lots of people that when you stop and you get a coffee or you get a croissant or something, and chatting with people and where are you from, and you meet people from all over the world. So that was just, and
you do on the Portuguese as well, but on the Frances, it's just kind of the common denominator of the whole event.
There is just, it seems that it's just a lot of people. So that's kind of my experience on the Portuguese way, Portuguese coastal way, is you just don't see a lot of other pilgrims. You just don't see a lot of other people.
Well, but we did it in early June versus September. So there may be a difference kind of in timing too.
And also early 2002, COVID was still an issue. Yeah. and there were just less people as well. But anyways, okay, so from my experience, it feels like if you want more solitude, if you want more peace, and you want more, to be able to be more introspective, the Portuguese way is a better way to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's think about particular types of people. So if you're a solo female traveler, which would be the better Camino, do you think?
Well, again, I think what is it that you're looking for?
Yeah. Do you want to be introspective, or do you want to meet a lot of people?
So here is this thing. So I love the Portuguese way because, again, it was beautiful, the gorgeous views, and I think it was actually an easier hiking experience as well. Mm-hmm. I felt like it was more condition of the trail.
Yeah, the difficulty of the Portuguese is easier than the difficulty of the Frances.
Yeah.
If you're comparing from Porto and Sarria into Santiago.
Yeah.
Right. So on the Portuguese, it's flat, 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 and then you go over some hills into Santiago. And Sarria, you're just kind of doing hills the entire time until you get into Santiago.
Yeah. So, but I think from the social aspect of it, and to be connected and feel like you're really on the real, true Camino, the way, I feel like the Sarria route.
To Santiago, is it?
East to west. I
don't know, if you were to ask, if it were just me, and having done both routes, and you were to ask me which one I would do again, 100% I would do the Portuguese Coastal again. I would not do the Sarria to Santiago again. That's me. Because I want beauty, I want fresh breezes, I want occasional people, I want to look at pretty art. But if I was really introspective and wanted a very religious pilgrimage, traditional experience, I would do Sarria to Santiago.
Yeah. In either case, a lot of solo travelers. So, like Chris was just mentioning, if you were doing this by yourself,
no worries.
Which one would you choose? Yeah. No worries. Solo travelers, solo pilgrims.
They're everywhere.
They're
all over.
And there is amazing support and really a fantastic experience. So maybe we do it again.
You do
Portuguese and I do the French way. And I'll meet you in Santiago.
Anyhow, we've got lots of Camino content. You can catch our links up here to all of our Camino content. Also on our website, eatwalklearn.com. Just search on the Camino. You'll find all kinds of logistics and how-to information. If you're not a video watcher and you want to read things, you can catch that on the website. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for following along. We'll see you next week. We're not going to talk about the Camino next week. We're going to talk about, who knows? We'll tell you next week. Bye.